Take your time, honey.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Celebration of life for Edwin Butch Crowley. As many of you know, he was the patriarch of our family. And I knew him at his best when we lived with him and my grandparents on Universal Street. That was my favorite house to live because it had my grandfather. There was not a thing that Butch didn't know that was going on in that house because he was generally up by 10 p.m., went to work for his shift, and he would be there waiting for you in the morning when you were about to leave. He would see me off to school. He would see his daughter off to work. He would catch his son sneaking in late. He would have his morning coffee with his wife, Patricia. And then he would retire to start the process over and over again. That is the way I always knew him and will always remember him. Because during his hours of work and leisure, he would be your best friend, your therapist, tell you a couple of mind-blowing stories. And he would especially tell you if you shared that you had some problems or you didn't know what to do, how to get your shit straight. And he would do that by rolling up a pack of Marlboros in his sleeve after putting one in his mouth, letting it hang off his lip so delicately as he still drank his coffee. Tying his bandana around his forehead, and he would say, well, you know, this is what you need to do. And no matter the response that he gave, you always had the utmost volition that it was right. Because Grandpa had seen some things. He was born in 1944. He served in the military 1961 and 1964. And he'd tell me these things whenever we go on long drives, because he'd tell me about some of the wild things that him and his buddies would do over in post-war Germany out of boredom. He'd also tell me the things that he saw and the things that he learned as a human being. My favorite story was when he had a buddy who loved his rifle. Wow, I'm gonna ship this back home. This is how I'm gonna do it. I'll take this rifle apart, right? Piece by piece. Ship it back to my wife, piece by piece. They'll never catch me. And they didn't, until he told me how it spectacularly blew up in his friend's face. He said, that dumb bitch mailed that thing put together back to the base. And they caught him. So he said, well, you know what that teaches you? And I said, no, what, Grandpa? Don't try to get one over on the government. He was right. You can't. But from a man who came from very little and never thought that he would see the things that he had, he was a pioneer. He gave birth to 3 wonderful children and helped them learn. He raised them. He helped raise their grandchildren. And he protected the homestead. He was always there for every one of us. And we turned out okay. Better than okay. and we have to keep going on. So, I imagine him still sitting at the kitchen table on Universal Street, striking his cigarette pack of Marlboro Reds, and I could just picture him saying now, well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna cry about it? You're gonna get up and do something about it. And that was him, and I thank every day that he always gave me the encouragement that I needed.
Thank you.
Tough act to follow. I'll keep this relatively short and sweet. Still feels like a fresh one, very recently. But, you know, segue with what Laura said, you know, it takes a village to raise people, to raise children. My father was the biggest subscriber to that. His door was always open, whether it was he needed a place to stay, a meal to eat, someone to talk to, a beer to drink. He never stopped being selfless. And it's easy to get caught up in your own stuff a lot of times and, you know, maybe go one way, but sometimes you just need to stop and think, what can I do for others to find joy for yourself? Last year's been really difficult. You know, he's been sick for a while. But even through those bad times, he never stopped being selfless, and he never stopped teaching. He never stopped caring. He never stopped listening. He never stopped laughing. So the biggest takeaway is to always make sure to go out of your way to let people know not only how much you love them, but a little story they might have done to you, or how much you mean to them, or why they mean something to you, or just cold call them. Preferably not drunk at 3 a.m. Same applies for text. But nonetheless, make sure you relay that message, that people know that you care about them, you're worried about them, and that you're there for them. Because when things like this happen, and you have, you know, bad times, that solace that you've all shown me and my family has really helped make a bad time much better, to where it's sad, and as much as I miss my father, this show of love and support and the stories, the laughs, it's exactly what he'd have wanted. And legends never die. They always stay in your heart. Thank you, guys. Can I take him home for the night? Oh, God. But I really do want to sincerely thank everybody. I mean, it's just been overwhelming how wonderful everyone's been, and it's been a ride, and we still have a couple battles to fight, but when you have support, you have a lot better chance of winning those battles. Thanks again.
Thank you.